Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast, episode 26.
Is it 26?
I'm on. It's going to be 25 or 26. Let's let Isaac.
Do we have any in the bank right now?
We don't have any in the bank. We put everything out there. So I believe it's going to be episode 25 or 26, somewhere in there. But we have put out more than we expected to this year. This is going to be episode 25. So thanks for tuning in for all 25 episodes, everybody.
That's a milestone.
It's a milestone in itself.
Big time.
There's got to be stats out there on how many podcasts drop off. So I'm feeling very blessed that we're still here. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of to the point where we're in far enough. We're like, shoot, we're ramping it up in 2024. So we're bringing on guests like Jared. We got Jared here today, Jared Martin. He is a local investor, part of Homesteading. I'll let him tell a little bit about himself and his company, but he's a grinder. We're very thankful to have him on the show, for him to represent all the grinders out there, give some input and some foresight on the market. So, Jared, would you just kind of start off with a little bit about yourself, maybe who you're married to, then like going to work, and maybe a little bit about your portfolio?
Yeah, I'm Jared Martin, born and raised here in Northwest Arkansas, married to Caroline. I have two babies, a little girl that's 4 months old, a little boy that's 2, so I got my hands full. My days go by quick.
That's awesome.
I went to the U of A, graduated in 2016, got my real estate license my last semester of college, and it was a struggle the first 2.5 years of real estate. I was just doing, commissions, and came across who's still my partner now, but a mentor of mine, mid-2018, and he really showed me the ropes, That's who I still flip properties with, but, he's been everything to me, just like all that experience that I can tap into. His counsel has really helped me along the way. So in 2017, I got my first duplex. It was actually when me and Caroline were engaged. I used my FHA on my personal residence when I was like 21. And then when we were engaged, she still had her FHA.
Oh, yeah.
So I used her FHA to buy our first duplex.
That's a lot of trust. You weren't married yet?
Well, I was seeing if she was going to be in for the long haul. I didn't quite know, but I was trying to find out.
That's a winner.
Yeah. So we did the remodel / live on that one side for a year. And then my family really helped me out as far as just like manual labor, putting that thing together, because I was broke still. So from there, just been plugged in with my partner, and, everything's kind of started compounding, building some momentum, to kind of get to the point where it's at today.
So you were right in the heat of acquiring properties in the 2017 till 2021 good interest rate period.
Yeah.
Now, are those, I don't want to dive too deep into it yet, like, are a lot of those on 5-year, 7-year type things?
Yeah. So that FHA obviously was a 30-year fix.
Of course.
But then in 2019, so I didn't buy anything in 2018, bought 2 in 2019, started getting into commercial in-house financing.
Okay, yeah.
So that 2019, the first duplex was 15% down, and then everything that I have was value add. So, I have to go in there, it's distressed, I'm buying somebody's problem, go in there and force that appreciation through the remodel.
Yeah.
But other than that first duplex in 2019, every multifamily property there has been, net funded from the bank.
Yeah.
But that's because of the discount I was able to buy it at.
Right. And we'll dive into how you're able to obtain that with different strategies. But so really and tell us how many properties you have.
I'm at 54 now.
Okay. So that's a extremely honorable, great number for, you said your first duplex in 2019 or 17?
2017.
2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So you got 5-6 years of grinding, and you're at 54 units. I mean, I feel like that's extremely encouraging for anyone listening that with the right goals, which we'll talk about goals and mindset and systems and processes. I'm big on systems and processes, and I know each and every one of us has those. You can accomplish great things, and we're all sitting here wanting to have 54, and I know there's people listening wanting to have 1 or 5 or however many. So I think we're really excited to get your perspective on a lot of things. Thankful you're here. Before we get into the nitty gritty, what is your take on Bobby Petrino coming back to?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm also in the forgiving business. So, I mean, I'm all about letting bygones be bygones. And, I think the more wins that he gets, I think I'll surprise myself with, how much more forgiveness I can offer. So, if he can keep bringing, dubs to this football program, I think he's a spark. It's not hurting anything. I think it's a spark we need.
What do y'all think?
Man, dude, I love it. I think it is like the biggest issue with football in general, I think, is like no one cares. Sorry, Iowa. No one cares about the defense. Like the head coach gets in trouble if you don't score points, no matter what. Yeah. And so my wife, she probably ain't gonna listen to this, but she hated it. She was so mad when he got hired. Yeah. She's like, what a stupid decision. We need to quit recycling coaches, which, it's bad taste. But I love it. I think gunslinging, go find me a Joe Adams, please. Yeah. And just let it ride, That's all. I want the recruits more than I want anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he's got those connects.
B. Still's got to take on this.
Yeah. Dude, I'm all in. You're in. I'm all in. The only reason why I think
that's right.
Yeah. Just as, if we hired, like I've said before, Coach Prime, like a hire like this is probably the only hire that pulled us out of being mad at Sam Pittman.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
And on top of that, like the whole college football world, it brought publicity to like everybody. So I think that's what Arkansas needs in any sport is publicity. Like we need it for recruiting or for whatever. We just need more people seeing our name. And it's like real estate. It's like Homestead. We're gonna get into it, but like you were able to grow your business because everybody started seeing their name. I personally have seen your emails for however long you've been doing it. I guess I've seen that business name and never put a face to it, and so all to tie it back, I think it's a good thing for Arkansas.
Over under neck braces in the stands, 20,000 week one.
I'll tell you.
October 31st, 2024 is about to be lit.
Honestly, let's get ahead of it. Let's wholesale some neck braces, make a little money.
That'd be great.
A little seed funding.
Arkansas logo on the side.
I saw a post on Facebook that I get involved in too many Facebook arguments, but people were like just absolutely hounding Bobby the decision, and I was like, gosh, like thank God that like people don't have a microscope on y'all's lives and see like we're all one decision away from being right in Bobby's shoes. All of us not to that severity, but thank God that for second chances in our life because we need them. And I said almost this exactly. I was like, I don't know the content of Bobby's character or where his heart is, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's probably not going to make the same decision again. He's not going to make the same mistake again. If he does, that is insane.
Yeah.
So like, I'm gonna say he's learned, he's progressed, and he's probably going to pretty much keep to himself. So I'm all here for it.
Yeah.
What were we? 10-2, 11-1, 10-2.
He was getting busy.
We were getting after it.
He got released 2012. That was my senior year of high school. I was going to the U of A thinking I was going to get on this awesome football program. I got John Lewis. Smile.
I forget he was even here.
Yeah.
When I'm going through the coaches in my head, I forget about him.
Yeah. What was his thing in the interview? He's like,
smile them out. We got to smile. I'm like, watch some games. He's making some long years.
Oh, man. Well, let's jump into just some overall viewpoints. What we're going to get into macro and microeconomics just a little bit. We don't have to dive too in depth, but what are you seeing in the nation as a whole, real estate wise? Do you have a take on what you're seeing?
I don't know a ton of detail there. I know that unemployment just recently started creeping up. They're making some headway toward that, getting that inflation number down, to the point of Jerome saying, hey, we're probably going to do some interest rate cuts.
Yeah.
As far as that looks like, I think maybe they'll do one or two, and then we might see all these people jump back into the game, and it'd be a frenzy again.
Yeah.
So them to say 6, like one at a time, and then, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly why I've been buying in this past year, is because I'm like, if they decide that they want to cut in 2024, it's going to be worse because we don't have the inventory yet, and they're going to start cutting rates. They're going to have all this flood back, and so the prices are then going to escalate.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm going to buy now, and if I can figure it out now, like I can figure it out like later.
Yeah.
So I just foresee prices going up.
Yeah. No, if you can make sense of the deal right now, if you can make it pencil in this current rate environment, you got a really good deal. And that's the cool thing with commercial financing too, is you can do a rate modification for a couple $100 and take advantage of the lower interest rates down the road.
Yeah.
That's
and buy it more discounted now.
Yeah.
You know, it's not wait. You know, there's always something going on. You just got to see what's out there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Are you seeing more, this may be a jumping ahead, but are you seeing more opportunities in the commercial or just kind of whatever pencils?
So all my stuff is just like residential multifamily.
Gotcha.
The financing is just in-house. In-house money. But as far as like my cold calls, people are way more receptive of, what would you, what would you offer?
Yeah.
Where before, like last couple of years, it usually takes me like 125 actual contacts to monetize a deal. And now it's like, I'll hear out an offer. You know, before it was like, make me move. Everyone knows their value.
Yeah.
So switching
so
up
that's
to a more
showing me.
micro economic scale, you're seeing people become more receptive as of recent.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone's migrating here. So like, you know, we're insulated to some degree, you know, and again, that doesn't mean that you get over aggressive on whatever your parameters are, but if you can make sense of that deal, like where are we going to be at in 5 years?
Yeah. I was just telling Isaac too, just kind of speaking on that. In the last year to year and a half, I've chased and cold called. It's mostly self-storage
Nice.
in and around this area and other rural parts, and gotten a lot of feedback on like, you know, we're not interested right now, not interested, get calls all the time, not interested. And even just in the past month, as things have slowed down a little bit, we get into seasonality. I've gotten 3 calls back from those folks. And so just kind of, they're like, hey, I'm actually, you know, starting to think about, you know, and so it's starting to feel like things are cracking a little bit. Maybe people want to finally cash in. And so it feels like there's a lot of opportunity out there, maybe behind the scenes that maybe not everybody else is seeing, but you're seeing because you're cold calling all the time, or any of us are seeing because we're in the business, you know, regularly chasing properties down for other people. And so, tell us a little bit about that too. Your cold calling, kind of what you're doing there, and then, you know, how's that coming to fruition right now?
Yeah, so that's been really my main strategy since day one. Like that's my main source of trying to find discounted off-market properties. So I'll basically, what I first did when I started working with Ryan Russell's my partner, shout out to Ryan.
I've heard him multiple times. I've just never met him or
he's
known
the
his face.
Yeah. So the first thing, so I met him and I had to call him like a number of times to even get some coffee. Because I was broke kid, like I want to be an investor, but I don't know what that means. Can you tell me?
Yeah.
And he gave me a couple things to do, and he was like, if you do that, holler at me when that's done, and I'll show you more of the ropes. So that took some time. That's part of getting that duplex.
Yep.
Hollered back at him, and he was like, you know, I think residential multifamily may be the play. You know, if you can, you know, try to contact some of these owners, and if we can buy it at the right price, I'll partner with you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just went for it. I scrubbed everything, called the counties, Washington, Benton, pulled all the duplexes in both counties, and then got a White Pages subscription, and just like busted it out. You know, just trying to figure out this script. Now I got it down, but like trying to figure out what works, and then doing the follow-up thing. And I didn't even really dial in the follow-up play until later, but like that's where the fortune is. The fortune is in the follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, so if you can get a system, a CRM or some type of tracking, you know, because there's only so much you can keep in your head.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way. Like, I was like, you know, we agreed to a price, but the timing wasn't right. And I forgot about them. I would randomly pass the property or something and holler at them. I'll pull the tax record, and they sold it for what he said he would sell it to me for, or to us for, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to dial that in. So, anywho, that's been the foundation of what I did. And it's real simple. It's just, you know, hey, my name is Jared Martin. You know, I know this call's out of the blue, but I saw you on this property at 123 Main Street. Just wanted to holler at you and see if you might have any interest considering an offer, you know. And you do that over and over again. Hey, totally understand if now's not a good time. You know, would you mind if I touch base in a year from now? And then do that.
Yeah.
And then that puts you in a position that, oh, he does what he says he's going to do. And now you're like trying to build, like, put that wall down between you and a stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Build a relationship.
Yeah.
I know you said 125 calls per one is about what it works out to. Playing devil's advocate a little bit, but would you say the 125 calls in there, you're going to get people that get upset, get mad at you, maybe they're a little weird, like, would you say it's worth it?
I mean, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course.
Yeah. I've built a callus now, but like, my main thing is like, if I can get that first call out of the way, that first address out of the way, I'm in a workflow.
Yeah.
But every morning, I mean, I'm listening to Grant Cardone. I'm trying to get motivated.
Yeah.
You know, I'm writing down my goals.
Yeah.
Because if my why is bigger than my resistance, then I'm going to be more consistent.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. But again, like any strategy works. That's just what I've chose.
Yeah.
You know.
See, dude, every time, you know, just with my cold calling experience, Isaac can say the same too. Zach, you probably say the same. It's like that first one, just getting over the hump of like the pit in your stomach and like making and pressing that button. It's just like, and most of the time people are, you know, fairly well receptive of it. They're just like,
that's true.
Actually, we're not looking to sell right now, but thanks for calling, kind of deal. But like you said, just even that one in 125 is like, I mean,
as a numbers game.
All you gotta do is press the green button 125 times and you make money. Like I think a lot of people will do that.
Yeah. You had a guarantee.
You had a guarantee.
Right.
Would you say with like that simple script, like it's extremely simple and straight to the point, people are pretty reset. Like it's going to be harder for someone to like get that mad at you for like calling just like, hey, if you're not looking to sell, like whatever. But
yeah, I mean, if you open up a call and ask how they're doing or talk about, I mean, you don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
So
straight to the point.
the faster you can get to that point, the reason for my call, you know, people are going to appreciate that because in one sentence, they already know what the whole deal is.
Yeah.
You know, and you're also showing them, hey, I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste my time. If there's any interest here, let's explore that.
Yeah.
If not, you know, I'll let you go. I'd love to keep in touch.
Well, someone might have just died and they're like, oh, you called it a great time. And I'm sure you've run across business instances like that.
Yeah,
So
life happens.
Life happens.
Yeah.
In any market, there's going to be things bought and sold, and because life happens, people die, people have kids, grow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or you just catch people on a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, because there's some names that stick out in my mind. I'm like, daggum, I do not want to. And some of those people own multiple properties, you know, and they're distressed. And it's like, man, I got to call them again.
Yeah.
And sometimes you call them again and they're in a better mood. And it's like, oh, okay, well, some of that factors into it too.
Yeah.
You know.
On that topic, would you be able to, and we can circle back to any of this, but would you be able to walk us through either like a nightmare deal or like a nightmare transaction? Do you have any that stick out in your mind?
We have two that, I mean, we lost money on. The cost was higher than what we anticipated. But
Let's start like from first phone call, maybe like a 5-minute first phone call, financing. What do I have on here? Like first call, financing, like how you negotiated it, and then like what ended up happening.
Okay, just like a recent deal,
or just
Do you have a favorite?
Or
we go
I mean,
away
like,
from the nightmare.
Like the nightmare deal, but like how did that come to fruition? Like
okay, just how did that work?
The call to the end where you lost money.
Yeah, so we got lucky. So that turned out not so great. So there was a street in Farmington, and it was a cold call. The guy was willing to, let me walk through the property. Mm-hmm. And by the way, like when I say, will you consider an offer, and they say yes, I'm saying awesome, appreciate that. Just a few questions about the property.
Yeah.
So then you gauge condition. And it's like, okay, well, in order for me to really get a better idea, I'd love to get my eyes on it.
Yeah.
And then we walk through. So anyway, so that's how that cold call transition. And sometimes we'll even write the offer on just paragraph 30. We'll do subject to a walkthrough.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we walk over to the guy's property, and another line that we do is, do you have a price in mind that you'd accept for the property? Just to avoid going back and forth. If you have a number, we'll back into that and see if we can make that work for you.
Right.
Which all I'm asking is, what's the lowest that you take for your property?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it disarms them, because at the end of the day, if it's not a win-win, like we're not interested in doing it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we ended up buying that property. It worked out. We flipped it. And then the guy across the street said, hey, I'll sell my property to you guys too. I'm trying to get out from under mine too.
Yeah.
And me and my partner were excited because like this one went really smooth. And we bought that, and we bought it sight unseen. And once we got into it, like there was like spray insulation all through the vents under the home.
Yeah.
Like just like
How much did you buy it for?
We bought that for like $135,
Rough.
and we sold it for what did we sell it for? For like $125.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We actually once we walked through the whole thing, we were like, we're gonna lose more money if we remodel this and sell it.
Yeah.
So we just took our losses on the front end.
You're just like, whatever.
We're like, daggone it, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
We're like, right.
Don't waste time too.
What's the
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's your experience before real estate? Question. What'd you do in college? What's your degree?
It was business finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've never done a flip before per se. Like I always buy things kind of pretty turnkey and just make the financing work. But like how do you walk through it and just like price things? Like is that something you've learned as you go?
Yeah.
Like, well, I see this. Like what was your first experience like that? Was it the mentor that helped you with that?
Oh yeah, he's like showed me the ropes on everything.
Okay.
So like anything that I do is modeling what he's done because it works.
Right.
You know. Yeah. So like our parameters are, our bread and butter is single family houses under 2,000 square feet in Washington and Benton County.
Retail doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Bedroom. Okay.
Yeah. So once we know like roughly the age of the big ticket items, the roof and HVAC, then on that square footage, depending where it's at, like especially if it's on a concrete slab, like it's within a certain range that we can feel really good about, making a verbal offer and tying that thing up.
Yeah.
And now one thing like we pride ourselves on is if we get it tied up, like we don't renegotiate the deal.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we add value to other realtors is like, if y'all bring us a deal that's a viable deal, like that pencils, it'll be a quick, easy. Like we're not gonna make this hard on you.
Get into the inspection period, be like, well,
we buy that.
Now we need.
Yeah. Because there's, and no, there's no right or wrong way, but there's investors that, they get under contract, the realtor's super excited, and then they just put them through the grind.
They know in their mind they're going for less.
Yeah. And that's not a ton of fun.
It's not a ton of fun for the seller either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So on your everyday deal, budget wise, when you walk in there, what is it? I mean, where do you end up landing compared to where your thoughts are initially? I guess on a typical deal, like an everyday deal you buy today, are you landing, 10% below what you project? Are you landing, 5% below, 5% above?
Yeah, I mean, our return's like probably 15%. On what we're flipping at, 15-20%. Our remodel cost is like, anywhere from 10 to 50. Usually not more than that, because if we're getting more than that, then that job's too big.
Yeah.
Especially with like, if we're holding property for 4 to 6 months, what kind of market are we in 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
So right now we're like really dialing in on, hey, let's not talk each other into buying this one or that one.
Yeah.
Like it really depends on the front end or we're moving on.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple where we're like 10 grand off, and it's like, it's hard enough finding a deal in this market.
Yeah.
So those hurt.
Yeah.
But you got to, or you could get pinched.
So I guess you guys have a pretty, like when you're walking through, because there are things that can bite you when you start digging into a home. Like, I don't know, do you guys often find that you don't miss much on your initial walkthrough and you're just able to close on it and you're not finding anything bite you in the butt on as far as fixing it up?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we lost on 2 of them, so like our
that's pretty good.
It's not
pretty good ratio.
Yeah. And like Ryan, he has a guy that works for him full time that, it's the same play. Like we don't get fancy with our remodels. It's here's the address, here's the box code, here you go. Yeah. And then we just check on it periodically to the finish line. And when you have that in-house, that keeps a good, idea of I'm going to roughly come in about here on cost.
Yeah.
And this guy, is consistent. So once you can get those variables, because the the remodel side is, contractors come and go. So if you can find good ones, like you want to keep those guys busy. Yeah, exactly.
Keep their wood.
Yeah.
Walk us through some like a deal you done recently.
Okay.
Maybe just from start to finish.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the middle of it right now.
Sure. That one's great.
Okay. So there was one, this broker actually brought to me. It was an off-market deal, and I actually been following up with him on the deal since like 2019. Hey, whenever this guy's, because I knew he had a relationship with this broker, and I was like, whenever that guy's ready to sell, I'd love for you to keep me in mind or whatever. And so he hollers at me this year, and it actually fell through, I think, with another buyer. And then he called me next, which I'm just grateful I got the call and all.
Right.
And so I already knew all about this deal because I've had my eyes on it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so on that deal, are we talking numbers or just like?
We talk now.
Okay.
If you feel comfortable talking.
So it was 2 buildings, 8 units apiece. So it's a 16-unit property next to each other.
Yep.
And we originally got it under contract for $1 million. And
good.
And then the roofs needed replaced. I had my HVAC guy go over there. They had PTAC units in the 1 bedrooms and HVACs on the back on the 2 bedrooms. And he's like, dude, every one of these are like on their last leg. I can't believe they're still running.
Right.
So, and I hated doing this, but I went back to the broker and was like, here's the deal. Like, these are big ones that I can't just like slide through. Like,
I got to come back to you on this one.
Yeah. So I was like, here's the full thing. You know, what if we asked for like 75% of it, which I was asking for like another 100 off.
Yeah.
I was like, could we get another 60 off?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, let me ask. And so he was able to get that done. Okay. So I ended up getting it and closing it at 940.
Yeah.
And then the after repair value on the desk eval came in at 1.4.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah. So, so what was really cool is since it was so discounted, the bank net funded the deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And then since the spread between 940 and 82% loan to value is roughly 200, they gave me that as a line to renovate the property.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm on an interest only construction loan basically.
$0 out of pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that expires September 1st of 2024.
So now you're going through the renovation.
3 units at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kicked everyone out at once, or?
No, that's why I'm doing 3 units at a time so that the tenants I inherited can keep servicing that debt.
Keep helping.
Yeah. And then, you know, I'm not putting myself in a position to where I'm eating more of that payment than I want to be.
Are you pretty, like, this sounds bad, are you loyal to lenders, or you shop around everything? Like, how's that relationship with the bank where you were able to pull that off?
Yeah. So on this stuff, I mean, commercial banking is relationship banking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like the more value you can bring to that banker. So like another thing too, like as far as what's helped me is, you know, find a mentor that's done it and figure out how to add value to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get access to that counsel.
Yeah.
And then work to be as bankable as possible.
Gotcha.
So like with these lenders, for example, like I'm not bringing them anything unless like I've already worked through it. I ran it by, you know, my guys.
They're paying
It's
attention.
right.
They're paying attention when you call.
Yeah, because every time that I call, I'm hoping that like they're getting excited that, hey, this is a safe, another safe
This
deal.
is a killer, yeah.
Because you're building your reputation with that banker.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
the more that, you know, your portfolio grows, you're building this reputation, you know, financing continues to open up because you're not as risky. You're not risky, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the goal. But yeah, so we're doing 3 units at a time, and hopefully that'll play out, you know, a couple months before September 1st of 24.
How much per unit are you having to spend about?
Yeah, so the 2 bedrooms I'm at 12.5, and the 1 bedrooms I'm at 9,500.
Is that basically a full like update, or is it like picking and choosing what you update?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just cosmetic updates. It's on a concrete slab.
Okay.
I changed out the roofs and I'm changing out the HVACs as I come across them.
Those are big roof and
That's the only
HVAC.
big ticket items. So I'm putting plank in. I do repost gray for everything. I even paint the countertops unless they're already you know, decent. I'm not putting granite or anything like that in there.
Yeah.
Replace the light fixtures. My handyman does like the doors, and you know, if the pool's, you know, if all that's decent looking, I leave all that.
Yeah.
And the hinges, I don't really worry about that. And then I got one of the 2 bedrooms at $975 now, and one of the 1 bedrooms at $795. So
Nice. Oh, wow,
it's a workout. Yeah.
So what's the strategy for this 16 unit? Is it to sell once you get it rented out, stabilized, or is it to
Hold
keep it whole?
I'll hold that.
Yeah.
I'm holding everything.
Yeah. I was going to say, have you
So
ever
they put you in a
sold
headlock
anything?
to sell that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my whole like model is, and I do a little commissions too with another partner on like the retail side, but my whole like motivation is, you know, adding value to my mentor, my partner, you know, finding opportunities off market that we can flip together, to get capital that way. On those cold calls, hey, you want a retail value? Okay, well, you know, I can get my other partner over there on a listing appointment, you know, and monetize it that way. And then I have access to some other investors that might be a little bit more aggressive than we are. Like, hey, there's some meat on the bone. Sign up for us.
Yeah.
But someone will buy this.
Yeah.
And then they'll pay me like a finder's fee.
Doesn't fit your buy box.
But all that is so that I can be burning that capital into rentals.
Yeah.
Because that's like the long game, you know. That's what's going to pay every month.
Right.
You know, what I'm doing is a job.
Yeah.
You know, like if I stop pushing that pedal, like it stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
That's awesome. So were you saying that the after repair value they had at 1.4?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's a killer deal because I'm kind of working through a 16 unit right now that's like 2.9. So like,
I mean, it all comes down to the numbers though. Like if that rent's awesome.
yeah, I mean the rent's like it does pencil out, but like it of course it depends. Like a 16 unit could be worth $1 million or it could be worth 3. I mean, it just depends on the numbers. But I as soon as you said 16 units around $1 million, it's just like, like if that hit the market like that,
That's also
that would be
grateful.
How did you find that one? Was this you said an agent called you or broker called you?
Yeah. So we came across it in 2019.
Oh man,
and,
long play.
Yeah. So I just been in touch with the guys. Like,
You've been in touch with the owner or just
No, that broker.
Oh, broker. Okay.
So whenever a realtor or a broker brings the deal to me, like our whole model is repeat business. So like the last thing we're ever going to do is backdoor one of those opportunities.
Yeah.
So even if like there's no way I'm going to go direct to that seller.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
No, that's
he's taking
good.
care of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he represented me on that deal too.
Yeah. So he loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah. That's great.
So let's dive into, you guys want to dive into like some of the strategies besides cold calling that could potentially work and your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
That works for you? So one thing that I've seen from what Henry Washington does now, I think he used to potentially do you know Henry Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he used to do like cold calling stuff, but it seems like he's doing more like REI call center things now where he's having the company call for him.
Okay.
And I think he's also, I think he's doing a couple like mailing out stuff.
Yeah.
REI call center, which I know he's promoted them, which I'm just using Henry Washington. Henry Washington, if you're listening, we love you. We love your stuff.
He's on the ads. That's why we got to say it.
Yeah.
REI call center. He's on the ads.
Yeah, he's literally on the ads. So like,
REI call centers just throw you a bone.
yeah,
They throw you a bone for the shout out.
I know
Yeah, come
they
on.
really do. Like,
Just send us some
what do you
deals. We'll
think
call it a day.
for like someone using like, because like for me personally, like if I'm like, okay, like I'm personally trying to find a flip right now, like I am, but like my strategy is like, can I find anything on the MLS and find a really motivated seller and like get like $50K off of what they're asking? And so like that's what I'm going after right now, because like for me personally, like, and you may just like be like suck it up and just call people. I hate the thought of reject, because my first job was in printer sales.
Yeah.
And so every day I was doing 20 cold calls, walking into businesses, and I got so worn out with it. I was like, you know what? I don't ever want to do that again. And so like now I would rather pay someone to like cold call for me. Like, do you think that's a...
Yeah, I mean, so...
Feel free to be mean to him and call him a weed. So I'm sucking up right here to call Zach.
So I've just stuck with cold calling because I started out when I was just broke. Like I didn't have any money to pay or to leverage whatever the activity is. So
You just wrote that out.
yeah, and now I'm like more comfortable with it. Like, you know, that's just part of my daily activities.
Why would you pay somebody when you're so comfortable? Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess my advice would be, you know, whatever you choose to move forward with, that fits best with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you can be consistent, because consistency plus time is where your results are going to be.
Right.
So, like, instead of being a scatterbrain and trying a bunch of different things out,
Do this for 2 weeks, do this for 2 weeks, do this. Yeah.
yeah, I would really dial in, like, get to know your metrics on everything, and just be like, this is my way that I'm going to find my next.
They're like,
property.
I got to spend $10,000 with this company to get one deal, or I got to spend $5,000 on mail outs to get one deal over time. Then you're like, okay, like we can start pumping in some more money now because we got this dialed in. That's what you're saying.
But I mean, at any point, you know, at any channel you decide to pursue, like, you have to some degree get comfortable with rejection, and it's not personal. Like,
Right.
you know, like some people are just going to be like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to keep reflecting. And that's what's big, like writing down your goals. Like, why am I willing to get kicked in the teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm trying to do this and I can do this if I stick with it. But this is some of the, you know, the thing that I'm trying to avoid is usually the thing you have to go through, you know, to get to those, you know, the other side of those goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me transition into on that because I hate cold calling too. I didn't mean to call Zach a Whitney, but I hate it. It sucks. It sucks
I
so
don't
bad.
love it.
Yeah, but so take us through. Well, I'm curious about like this is your full-time deal. This is what you decided to do. What's like you wake up in the morning, I have like you sit down, you write your goals, you listen to some sort of motivational thing, and you just hit the phones. Like, is that every day, or it depends on what the project's doing?
Yeah, like Tuesday through Thursday, I'm getting like 2 hours a day of calls in.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
that's where I'm trying to like really meet some or make new contacts, get them plugged into the CRM. You know,
What do you use for your CRM?
Boomtown.
Okay, never heard of Boomtown.
It's like a website.
BOOM.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You can add like, pay-per-click or whatever leads to that.
We
But
should be
just
just
a
sponsored by these people. Let me tell you.
We should.
know.
I just, dude, I'm a slut for software. Like I really am. Like if
I'm gonna name that the title of the episode.
dude, please, like if it can make my life easier, like
I'll get some likes.
I want it, man. I want it so bad because I use Notion right now, and it's like it's great if you're smart, but I'm not. So Boomtown.
So is the goal for you just immediately, if you have somebody that's interested, is it the goal for you to get in front of them at all cost, or what's kind of the approach? if
I've seen
someone's
that's like really, that's really valuable, especially like on listing appointments.
Yeah.
But to get the listing to sell it on the market.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like the flips that we do, the majority of the deals that we've tied up is all done on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm able to, agree to terms. I send the contract over them for them to review through like DocuSign, and then we have a binding contract, and it has that subject to a walkthrough. So the first time that we're actually
Your
meeting these people,
fallback is that paragraph 30.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we rarely ever, terminate that.
Yeah.
But like just so we know, because most times, they're going to tell you condition, and then you're going to walk through and be like,
Yeah. This is a
Yeah,
border
yeah.
house.
but we price accordingly. Like
Yeah.
we price worst case.
So you never get to that point on the first call though. Like if you got somebody that's like, yeah, I'm willing to sell, what you give me for it? Like you get that information. Do you have a number in mind you'd pay for it before you hit call?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I never give them that number. No. So
I mean, I know you don't give them, but in your head, when you hit call, you know what you would like to pay for the property to make
Yeah.
money.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm calling, a full subdivision.
You're not just hitting call and like winging it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have the address, I have their numbers, I have what they bought it for, and I have how long they've owned it for.
Okay.
So like, and on that list, like there's value there too, because like you don't want to be calling on people that have owned the property for 2 years that don't have any equity in it.
Yeah.
They're or you don't want to buy or call somebody that just has like new construction because there's not enough time for like deferred maintenance.
Yeah.
You're looking for problems to solve for these people.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's what Brandon and I ran into.
That's
'cause
good.
One of our lists, we just set one parameter or something, and like we were getting like these $800,000 homes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, and then just thinking back to our experience too, we had 2 opportunities probably that we could have cashed in on and just didn't seal the deal. And so I think
Yeah.
of one in Centerton she was fixing to get foreclosed on, and we sat down with her. She was like, somebody just, I've had people cuss me out on the phone because I wouldn't sell it, but I'm thankful that you came in person. I can see you face to
That's
face.
awesome.
And
Those are the feel good
and like,
ones.
exactly. And we walked around the property and we should have, like thinking back,
Closed it there.
we should have closed it there, been like, what do you need to get this deal done? And instead I left saying, I'm going to go take a look at the numbers and let you know what we think we can purchase.
They
it
came
for.
to me, and I was like, "Yeah, let's lowball them.
And it turned, in hindsight, like it turned out,
Let's make her cry again."
yeah. Well, it turned out what we offered
Zach's
was
matured a
obviously
little
not
bit.
enough. She didn't she kind of ghosted us for a little bit. She kind of texted back here and there, but she ended up getting foreclosed on. She just let it go.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
Frustrating.
Yeah.
so what's like for you if you do get in front of somebody, like how do you close that deal? What's like, is there a line like, hey, I would love to know what it takes today to get it done, or is there
That
somebody?
goes back to, do you have a number in mind? Because once we know that number, what we'll do is back into that and see if we can make that work for you.
Yeah.
And if they say, no, you're the one that called me, totally understand. A lot of sellers have a price in mind. So if we
Yeah.
can get that out first, that avoids going back and forth.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I mean, you got to bite your lip and make your offer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now it's cool because with this other partner I have, it's, hey, that's too low. I'd never sell for that. Totally understand. Well, what I'd love to do is present to you option 2. I can let you know what some retail values are, even in y'all's condition, and it can get you closer to that number that you're wanting to walk away with.
Yeah.
Would you be open to that? Then you'd want to meet in person.
Then you're
and
going
try
to
to
kick
get that
back.
listing
Then you're
appointment.
going to kick back
Yeah,
from your.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Let's transition into a talk track of goal setting, because of course this Jared Martin right now, your goals are for a 35, 45-year-old Jared Martin. Like you're looking towards the future, and I'm sure you have goals set out that far and even further. So do you have certain goals in mind that like, hey, I want a certain number of units, I want 100 units, I want 200 units, or is it a cash flow number, or is it just I want to be operationally relevant where I don't necessarily have to work on my business every day? What is that?
I'm leaning more toward. I mean, I want to keep growing. You know, I'm still hungry. Like it's fun. You know, I love real estate.
Yeah.
But what's definitely going to be mixed into those goals going forward is leveraging more. Like recently, I got a property manager, you know, for 4 months, and that's been like just a total game changer.
Yeah.
Because I was managing 38 units by myself, and like July 4th, I got like 12 calls, and everyone's in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this to get more freedom.
Yeah.
You know, and luckily, like some guys connected me with an awesome property manager.
Yeah.
And they've been great, you know, and you know, especially with every turnover, these tenants don't have my cell phone number anymore.
Yes.
So like they're the ones having the hard conversations, you know.
Yeah. You're just making the bigger decision stuff.
Yeah. So so leveraging, and then like this next couple of weeks, I'm going to do goal setting and see. What I like to do is read this book, Traction.
Yeah, I've heard that.
By Gino Wickman. It's so good. And they go by 3 years at a time, and then kind of reverse engineer from that 3-year goal.
Yeah.
And that's what I did from 27 to 30. So
Yeah. How old are you right now?
30.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wife and I just did a 3-year, a 3, a 5, and an 8-year plan. And that was really, it just like really, I really believe in goal setting.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't know what you're shooting for, you're just going to be throwing darts at a dartboard that isn't there.
Yeah, it brings clarity.
And so like our buy box just got a lot clearer. What we're doing every year got a lot clearer. And if we do over that, like I think it's very attainable. And if we do over that, it's icing on the cake. But we know exactly how many homes we want. We know the types of homes we want, and we know how we're going to get them now. And it's like this clarity that we never had before, that we wouldn't have without, you know, we have always goal set. But like, if you're listening to this, like, and you're just like, oh, I think I need to get into real estate, I would encourage you to like sit down and be like, why do I want to get in real estate?
Yeah.
And what's the parameters around that? Because if you're just like getting into real estate just because it sounds like a great idea, you're probably going to fail. I think everyone would agree with that as well. I think as far as goal setting goes, another really big thing, and I think you all of us would attest to this, I guess we're all married, having the wife on board is like night and day difference for going towards those real estate goals. If you can, and we could do a whole nother episode on this, and I actually have plans to bring on like a wife of a high level investor and like say like, what's it like being in that supportive role and having to be kind of the property manager at some points, and like what was it like jumping on the train? But can you guys speak to like your wife's getting on board with the goals for that you guys had in play?
Yeah, I think about back to Grant Cardone. I think about like as a real estate guy, you just, you know, like your job and your goal is to try to be broke all the time, right? You gain capital and then you push it into something that you believe in, which is real estate.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, I think that's why it's so important to make sure that our wives are on board, or any investors' wives are on board, is that, you know, that, hey, our plan is to be able to accumulate doing our jobs or doing what we need to do, and then to push it all into something that we believe in for the long term. So we may not see benefit now, but we're going to see benefit in 10, 20 years or whatever. And so like for me, my goal right now is to like try to replace my wife's income. And so, you know, by the time that we want to have kids, Lord willing, that she can make a decision whether she wants to go back to work or not.
Yeah.
And so small goal like that, but that's like our immediate why, and something that I think about, like you said, before I pick up the phone and cold call in the mornings. And so I think that's important to know the why, but then on top of that, like having wife understand, you know, what you're pushing for short term, and then what you all want to do long term as you provide for kids or whatever it looks like. And without that, I think it just leads to conflict, and it leads to like clarity in all things. I think helps, whether it's in business or whether it's in your relationships. And so
big time.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, exactly what you said. Be able to have somebody that can see down the road a little bit further. Like, I know both of you guys actively lived with your parents or wife's
Still
parents,
doing it,
still doing it.
Yeah.
We got 10 more days.
2 more days.
Then I can
We
walk
may have
around
10 more
underwear
days
on.
too.
Yeah. So I mean, like having somebody that would sacrifice that to attain some goals. Like me and my wife were living in a very tiny house because it was our smallest mortgage, and we're like, which house should we live in to make the most cash flow? So it was me. I'm 6'6", 275. My wife's a little Filipino girl, so she doesn't count. But then we have a 100-pound pit bull, and we're in 1,000 square feet, and like my head's hitting the chandeliers, and like we can't have the ceiling fans on, or I'm getting taken out. And we did that for 2 years. And even when we got engaged and we were planning our wedding, we kind of sat down, and I had been cold calling on some stuff, and I was like, if we elope, I can buy this storage facility. And she was like, done. Like, didn't even think about it.
That's amazing.
And so we took the money that we were going to spend on a wedding and put it into real estate. And like, it's hard it's not a fun conversation because like a wedding is like something girls dream about their entire life. But I got super lucky, and like her goals are just being a mom and anything she can do to get closer to being the best mom she can be and being with the kids. So it's hard to find them, but I think we all did a really good job.
Yeah.
Did you see any pushback when you started this with, I mean, I guess from the very start you said when y'all were engaged you got deals. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think communication's everything. I mean, Caroline, she doesn't really care to know all the details of what I'm doing, but she fully supports me, and she knows that I have our family's best interest in mind. Yeah. And like, that's all I need, because that's what I'm doing it for.
Yeah.
And on top of being like just an amazing wife, she's an awesome mom. I got it made on that end. So, that support though, that changes everything.
Shout out to the wives.
Yeah, shout out to the wives.
Amen. The blessing, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, do you want to give Homestead Inc. a quick shout out? If you're listening to this or watching this and you have a distressed property, of course I'm looking for a flip, but they're a great resource as well. If you want to give a quick shout out to your company and
appreciate that.
what kind of all this was, but
so Homestead Inc. We flip properties. Some of our parameters are single family houses, ideally under 2,000 square feet. That are typically distressed. The owners needing a quick cash close for some reason. The advantage for you as a realtor to keep us in mind when you come across those deals is you get paid 2 different ways potentially. One is if it's a pocket listing and it hasn't hit the market yet, even though we're licensed, we'll have you represent us too, and you can double side that commission. If it's a situation where a seller, but they can't afford to pay you a commission or they just don't like realtors, well, since we're licensed, we'll pay you 3% ourselves for you just bringing us a buyable deal. Nice. So bottom line, you're getting compensated.
Yeah.
And our goal is repeat business. So if you want quick commissions, we'd love the opportunity to do some business with you.
That's awesome.
That's great.
You said you had goals in some goals in there?
These are just like my past goals. I was just going to show you all.
Man, that's a distressed book.
I don't
there.
want to
That thing's been through some stuff. You've had that for a while.
So what does it look like?
Crazy, man.
Pages of goals. That's
amazing.
What it takes. I mean, you have subconsciously, if our brains are a supercomputer, so you've subconsciously and consciously ingrained those goals in your brain. Like our brain literally creates, not to get too in the science of things, but like creates physical pathways and neuron pathways of our thinking. And so if we're thinking something's not possible, we'll have like almost like, how if you pour water down a hill consistently, it'll create a pathway. And so if we have negative thoughts towards investing or picking up that call, like our thoughts tend to trend towards that beaten out path. And so we have to, if we want that to be filled in with dirt and a new pathway to be taken, it's the same thing with our brain. As much as it is thinking, our brains are physical. And so we literally have to write it down, change our thoughts to create a new pathway for, I know you guys weren't asking for that science lesson.
That's great. I listen to Human Labs in my free time, so this is about the same thing. So
you have to write down over and over again, tell yourself, goal set, and then your brain's like, okay, like picking up this phone is a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. And even, although they will be uncomfortable, like what's waiting on the other side here for me in 10 years when I'm, taking a vacation for a month in Colorado and I have $20,000 of passive income coming in net, then I'm a happy camper and I'm doing this for that.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel good about making those calls. Like you're going to feel good about getting kicked in the teeth,
I have a question that's kind of personal, like my experience.
We can kind of talk about whatever at
Sure.
this point. Like,
Yeah, I feel like we've gone through kind of our big list. So obviously, like we're all trying to get to the 54 unit. Like you may not feel like a big fish, but to us, you're a huge fish. At what point, like I find myself struggling taking vacations. Like if I go out of town, I'm like, is something going to break? Oh my gosh, like am I working hard enough? How am I going to pay these mortgages if somebody moves out? All these like negative thoughts. Did that help like the property manager kind of solve those?
Yeah.
Or
Last year, actually.
when did those
like,
go away?
Yeah, I mean, there's still like always going to be a level to that.
Sure.
You know, I'm always beating myself up with like not having a productive day.
You're right,
I'm like,
yeah.
"Dang, I didn't push it today.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like a blessing and a curse. You
Yeah.
know, but that's what keeps the ball moving forward. Last year, I was like battling with like complacency. You know, and that like some of my numbers in certain areas just weren't even. It was just for a lack of pushing it as hard as I could.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was from like isolation because a lot of the time I'm just like in my own bubble.
That's a
You
great
know?
point.
Yeah. And I would just go to the same coffee shop, get my calls in.
Yeah.
And like some days, you know, rejection's harder than others. And like it makes the next day even harder. And if you're not around people that are kind of going through the same obstacles to push you and you pour into them, you know, that can weigh on you.
Yeah.
So I got plugged in with like a coach, accountability coach.
Okay.
And we just kind of go over numbers. How am I tracking? I talk through, you know, things I'm struggling with or whatever. And just to like air that out
Yeah.
helps a ton.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Or back in the office now, you know,
Yeah.
I'm hearing my other partner making his calls. Or we can,
Pushing
you
you a
know,
little
or I'll
bit.
get chewed out and be like, did you hear that?
You just have to sit there and like stare at the ground for 5 minutes by yourself.
And my tears just dripping into
Just
my
keep replaying it over and over. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So is there a point, kind of going back to goals? You're at 54 units, right?
Yeah.
Is there like I know like my dad always used to have a goal of 100 units, so that was my goal for a while. You know, as I get more into it, I'm starting to I start to think more like, man, what if I could just get 10 and pay them off? You know, like what is that? Do you have a goal in mind like that? Like, you said you want to continue to push it. Is there a point though that you stop and maybe just push to pay those off, or what is?
I mean, I don't see the stop in sight yet. The thrill of getting the deal is like so fun too.
Yeah.
Like I love that part. I love getting more experience on, you know, finding new problems and moving through them, you know, because that's more experience that I'm familiar with now.
Yeah.
And I love adding value to my circle. So like if I can get my banker another safe deal, you know, that's another transaction for my, you know, title company. That's more work for my, you know, handyman, those guys, all these contractors, like all that has a return on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the more you grow, it's not just you. Like you're adding value to a lot of people around you, and that's just as fun.
Yeah. You're feeding mouths.
Yeah. And you're like building out your team. So, you know, I think what I've seen is like I didn't really have a big number until I was like a year or two in with working with Ryan, and I was like, okay, what does this look like? And then I shot for a goal that made me uncomfortable. That I really didn't think I could hit, but I was gonna try.
Yeah.
And as you get more properties, it all compounds. Like all of it builds momentum, you know, appreciation, debt pay down, cash flow raises, you know, rent increases.
Yeah.
All that is working. You're just doing one piece of trying to add another rental. So you'll look up in a couple of years and maybe you could get a line on that now.
So you can leverage, you like that, you look back to that first property, hey, I can leverage this and get this and this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like even with y'all's goals, like you're going to see a couple of years down the road, like, oh, maybe we can shoot a little higher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's already been that, yeah. Well, because right now we're kind of at this, like, if we just got to 20 properties, like baseline goal, if we got 20 properties, like, good, let's just say good single families, and our income's to the point where, like, we can throw chunks at these and, like, get them paid off quicker. And so, like, if at a bare minimum we just did that, we'd have 20 properties by the age of 45 that were paid off completely.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that could,
You can do it.
that's extremely attainable. Or, you know, you just keep leveraging, keep acquiring net, and then we get to 40, and maybe you pay stuff off at 60 instead, but you have more cash flow on the, you know, so it's, I've even noticed in the last 2 years, it changes so much, but like, at least if we have like somewhat of a target and I know my buy box, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but it was a Bigger Pockets guest that took the strategy of he doesn't buy his next one until he pays it off, and it didn't. Which is like the opposite. It's a very long game, but now he's like in his 50s, and he can just compound everything into that mortgage. So it's like
he was 50 and now he has one paid off rental.
No. So he was doing it part time. So he's throwing like all his W-2 at it, and then he pays it off, and he's like, cool. Now I got this $2,000 check coming in. So his next property is all of his W-2 and $2,000, and now it's like he was saying when he buys a property, it's like, yeah, I pay it off in a year or two, and then I go buy another one. He's like, but I won't buy another one until I pay it off. But
at one point it was rough, and then it got to this point where compound interest.
It's basically compound interest with rents, and I was like, that sounds nice.
I just think real estate is.
But there's so many ways to do it.
Like
man.
I could go for 20, you could go for 1,000.
Yeah,
you could go for just a 50 unit apartment complex, and it could all work. And there's appreciation in rents, appreciation in value, depreciation on your taxes, and much more. You can leverage those properties. It's like. Yeah, basically you can look at your portfolio as a business, and like you could get to 100, and like your job could just be managing your own portfolio, and you would be probably plenty busy. Like how could maybe I have an extra 0.5 acres on this property that I could build a quadplex, and now my focus is on that the next 6 months. So like I just love real estate as opposed to stocks or something like that. And like there's so many avenues to make money, and so I encourage you, if you're listening, like talk to one of us and get rolling in it. I mean.
Yeah. And so, Jared, this is a little bit off topic, but Northwest Arkansas, what do you see for the future here? Obviously, we've got some incredible backing with some of the biggest companies in the world. A lot of people want to be here. Is this the only market that you want to be in, and what do you see for the future?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I'm real bullish on Northwest Arkansas. So, I mean, I'm not looking out of this area for me. Yep. I don't think, you zoom out years down the road, I mean, you could buy just a halfway decent deal and it's going to make a lot of sense down the road.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in looking outside of this area. I mean, that could change, but I'm dialed in here. I love how it's growing.
Yeah.
We're on the map more and more every year.
Yeah.
We're on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do any of you guys have any ending thoughts? Jared, do you have anything you want to talk about?
When you said nightmare deal, I have a nightmare tenant story.
Yes. Oh, come on.
Okay.
Let us know. Let's wrap it up with that.
Okay. So, by the way, that recent deal I told you about, like, there's a lot of hair on that deal. That's why those numbers look like that.
Yeah.
So, like, it's been a grind, but it will work once we're done.
Yeah.
So I was in, it's off Happy Hollow, South Fayetteville.
That's where I went to school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Happy Hollow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The Hawks.
Okay,
Go
shout
Hawks.
out.
Cacao.
So that come and go over there. I saw a buddy that's an agent too, and he was talking to a police officer. I thought he got in like a fender bender or something.
Oh.
So I saw him the next morning at the office, and I was like asking him about that. And he was like, he does Turo cars, the rentals, on the side. And he said someone stole one of his Turo cars, and it was a high speed chase from Lowell all the way down to South Fayetteville. And the guy that stole the car got out one of these sketchy apartment buildings and ran into one of the units.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, oh no. I was like, what road was that on? What do you remember the address? And he gave me the address. It was one of my tenants.
No.
It's one of the tenants I inherited a criminal.
Oh, no.
So I told the property manager, I was like, hey, next up on this next wave, like they need to go. That's one of the ones that need to go next.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Small world.
Oh,
like,
my
no, I didn't know I was
gosh.
involved.
Did you happen to have the exact address? Because that sounds.
I was in a high speed.
in line.
I was in a high speed chase, and I went home. Is the craziest criminal story I've ever heard in my life. You're running from the cops.
I thought you were about to say that you.
No. I'm saying that story. Like if I was a criminal, the last place I would do is drive home.
Oh, I know, right?
Go to your house.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
There's points like on the interstate, like I travel 80 to 85 on the interstate, and I'm like, man, I drive a Ram TRX. I'm like, man, if I really pass a cop, I'm just probably gonna floor it, and until like he because like
I may need to cut this part out.
Brad's on himself.
It's gonna take him a while to like get on, and by that point, like if I know I'm going like 86 or something, he's gonna pull me out. I'm like, I'm gonna get off and
You're gonna run going 10 over.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean
That's like a slap on the wrist, dude.
I'm
Like,
just saying. Well,
if you're going 120, yeah, take off. Dude. You're going to jail. Like, take
I might
off.
need to reevaluate my driving goals.
We'll pray for you, brother.
That's good. You are the right vehicle for it.
Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 25. We will get this posted, and tune in because later this month we have an ex-Tyson CTO coming in to speak on his portfolio, give us some insight. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jared. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.